Today we'll look at how to attack against the single block from a quick set. Outside hitters and opposite players are often in this position, where the setter set them the ideal quick set, a ball where the blocker doesn't have time to get to the double block. I'm going to talk about the perfect situation, a set where you can pick and choose where you attack. A situation where there is only one blocking player at the net and other players in defense. When you are attacking quick sets against the single block, the coaches tell you that you have to make a point, and they are not happy if the set on the single block doesn't end up with a point for your team. Yes, this is the best situation for an offensive player to score a point in attack. In this situation, you have the biggest advantage over the defense, the best chance to make a point. In professional men's volleyball, it counts that you should score at least 6 or 7 points out of 10 attacks against the single block. If you make fewer successful attacks, you can't expect a high success rate on the attack in a game. Because in a game you are not only expected to attack against a single block, but also to attack against a double block or triple block. Attacks after a set that is not ideally set and attacks where you just drive the ball to the other side. And in those situations, your chances of scoring are far less than against a single block. Well, if you add up all of these point attacks and attacks that didn't end in a point for you, you'll find that without a good attack against a single block, you can't expect a success rate of more than 50%. And success rate of around 50% on the attack is generally considered to be the line between good and worse performance on the attack. Therefore, attacking against a single block is your best chance of scoring points, unless we are talking about sets on a no block. But you are not going to get many of those per game. Also in this video, I'm not going to talk about attacking from zone 6, zone 1 or when you are playing pipe. I'll only focus on the outside hitter and opposite attacks from the net. Before I talk about ways how to score against the single block, I want to briefly mention the mistakes we can make against the single block. Clearly, the biggest mistake is to hit the net or the antenna. Why? You make a direct mistake. The action immediately ends in a point for your opponent, and you don't even give the team on the other side of the net a chance to make a mistake. If you end your attack this way, the coach and the teammates will not look at you happily. You had the perfect pass, you were facing a single block and you mess it up like that. The second significant error, whether you are attacking against a single block or a two block, is to attack it off the court. Now you have a chance that your attack will be touched by the player in defense on the other side of the net, but the chance is small. Again, this is a direct error and a point for your opponent. Another error and unsuccessful attack is if you hit into a block and get a direct point from your opponent's block. Here it may already be an excellent action of the blocker. He read your intentions, he jumped into your diagonal at the last moment. This can happen to you, but not very often. Fourth in order, though not as crucial mistake, is that your attack is touched by the blocker and his teammates defend it in the field. This sometimes happens even to the best attackers. Well, finally, there is the digging of your single block attacks in the defense. This can't be considered a direct error on your part. You did everything right, hitting next to the block, but the libero was simply where he should be and defended your attack. That's why I recommend you try to eliminate direct errors even against a single block. Direct errors in the form of attacks to the net or off the court hurt you and your team the most. When you attack in every situation, in every position, you can use several types of attacks. There is no one universal type of attack that will be enough for you to be successful in the long run and make point after point, not only against one team but through the season or your entire volleyball life. Therefore, don't just focus on one type of attack in practice, but try to master as many kinds of attacks as you can against a single block or even a compact double block. I've talked about this in other videos. Every attacker should know several types of attacks, and the more they know, the better their chances of success. Sometimes you need to use a hard hit, and sometimes you need to attack for a block out or use a power tip. But now let's move on how to attack against a single block, how to be successful and make the most points. Attack next to the block. I can start with any type of attack against a single block other than an attack that avoids the block, and next to the block attack. This is the basic type of attack that you need to use, whether against a single block or even a double block. When attacking against the single block, you have a big advantage as an outside hitter or opposite. The player on the block in front of you can't cover the whole court. He can block your line, attack and also diagonal. The blocking player usually has to decide whether block your line or diagonal. Well, you as an attacker should see what your opponent wants to block you and attack next to him outside the block. If you attack next to the block, your opponent loses one chance to stop you. They must then hope to dig your attack in the defense. And if you are attacking against a single block, you don't just have to attack long attacks into the defensive players. You can also play a sharp diagonal that is difficult for the player moving away from the net to defend. And if you attack hard down the line, the defender again doesn't have much time to react to your attack. That's why I recommend that if you have a single block against you, try to attack next to the block as much as possible, so that the blocking player doesn't touch your attack. The second way to attack against a single block is to attack the blocker's fingertips powerfully. Again, you have an ideal quick set. You want to hit the line. The blocker notices your intent and wants to block your attack down the line. But you are confident. You hit the ball high and hard on the blocker's fingertips. The ball bounces off the block far out of the court. The player defending along the line cannot take this deflected ball in the field, and no one else on the defense can get it. This type of attack is also very effective if executed correctly. You are already giving the opponent a second chance to defend you, but since you have hit the ball up top with enough power, the chances of the opponent turning the point away are very small. Attack for a block out on the line. Attacking for a block touch on the line with the goal of having the ball bounce off court is another way to score a point against a single block. I prefer out of block attacks, but attacking for a block out is also an effective way to score a point. If you want to attack the block out, you need to see the blocker's hands well, have good technique and also have confidence. If you look at the play of the French national team, for example, almost all of the attackers are excellent at this type of attacks and often use it against tall Russian blockers. But you don't have to play for the block out only when there is a tall blocker in front of you. But even if you have a smaller setter or outside hitter in front of you, you can help yourself with this attack. The tip or power tip next to the block on the line or diagonal is again becoming a very popular way to score a point against a single block. Indeed, in the eyes of many players and coaches, the tip is not the right attack. It's not attack from maximum height with the greatest force, crushing players on defense. Many coaches also don't recognize this technical type of hitting. On the other hand, if the tip is well executed, doesn't touch the block and falls quickly from a height into the court, it's very difficult to handle in the field. Because the vast majority of players, when they see an attack against a single block, they expect a hard attack to the diagonal or down the line. And a surprise tip that falls on the court around the 3-meter line is really effective. But you can count on the fact that you can only make tips against a single block for the whole game. Your opponents will read you and will automatically come for your tips. However, don't forget to try the tip or power tip in practice. These technical attacks will come in handy in matches. Over the block. The last way I want to describe today is attacking against the single block and hitting over the block. I am intentionally placing the over the block attack at the end. Sure, we all love the feeling when we can attack over the block. We walk proudly around the hall afterwards and in the locker room after the game. We often talk about our over the block attacks as a great action. But let's face it, how many times in a game we attack over the block? Once, twice, 3 times? We can forget about this type of attack, but I would prefer other ways to score a point. I remember when I tried to attack over the block, over the small setter, I was often not successful. Either I'd hit a beautiful spike over the net but 10 centimeters to the outside, or I thought I was a foot above a setter and it would be easy for me to hit over the block. Well, the opposite was true. The setter waited for me and my attack was touched so that the defensive player easily dig it afterwards. Also, you are going to be facing a blocker 20 centimeters taller than you and try to attack over him just isn't going to work. Sure, you can try to play over the block. If you already want to play over the block, it's better to play over the block into a long diagonal. Down the line, you only have 9 meters of court in front of you. Up the long diagonal, you have more than 12 meters of court in front of you. Therefore, attacking over the block into the long diagonal has a better chances of success than attacking the line. So that's my advice on how to think about attacking against a single block and what ways you can use to make points. Don't just put everything on one card. Don't just make points by attacking hard on the diagonal. Learn as many ways as you can to be successful against the single block, and then no blocker or great defense will be a big obstacle for you to score a point. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.